There's something about being the villain in video games that is intriguing and fun. We never got an official game where we play as a Combine in Half-Life 2 though, but we got quite a few mods that try and give us that experience. Some of them being high quality enough to be released as an official Half-Life title, and others not so much. Today we're taking a look at various Half-Life 2 mods in which you play as a Combine soldier. From fan favorites like Entropy 02 to the first Combine mod ever released, Combine Destiny. To make things more fun, I'm also going to be putting them in a tier list. Because who doesn't love a tier list? Finally, I'll finish off this video by talking about some Combine mod projects that are currently being worked on that look insanely promising and may be releasing soon. Let's get into it. Outbreak. Let us start this video with a criminally underrated mod, Outbreak by Beef Bacon. This map was part of the Map Labs Halloween Mapping Competition 2025. And let me tell you right up front that this is, in my opinion, the best singular source map ever made. In this map, you play as a Combine soldier placed in an abandoned factory turned Combine facility, with the goal of securing it and finding out why the systems inside of it failed. Arriving with multiple soldiers via gunship, the setting immediately is insanely high quality. It's raining and the environments look like Valve quality and above. You also get a unique weapon. It looks like an AR-2 turned into a pistol. It's got a 15-shot recharging clip with the very interesting combat mechanic of it doing less damage the less ammo it has. This mechanic alone carries the survival aspect of this entire map, even though it's infinite ammo. The level design of this map is the best I've ever seen. The looks are perfect, the vibe is perfect, the gameplay is perfect. For a unique element, your HUD even flashes to signal that threats are nearby. You quickly come to find the reason the systems in this place failed. Fungi zombies. It seems that the same fungus that Jeff from Half-Life Alyx was infected with infected this place, which is portrayed using custom NPCs that are honestly pretty creepy. A singular one isn't much of a problem, but once they start stacking, you're in for trouble. Especially with the added fact of your only infinite ammo weapon being ineffective the more you spam. So in most cases, your only hope is to hit multiple skilled headshots back to back. The environments that follow the reveal look too good to be Source 1, but they are. It looks like Half-Life Alyx merged with Half-Life 2, and I love how colorful yet dreadful everything looks. The colorful glow sticks placed on the floor are a great touch, and the Zen fauna looks insane. There's another custom NPC to be found amidst the Zen fauna. Stalkers that spit at you, hanging off by webs of the infected wards. A creative and well-balanced new enemy. The level design quality manages to peak and never dip for the entire duration of this map. There's more surprises and more custom content awaiting you, including a Left 4 Dead style holdout section near the end, for which I highly recommend you check this map out after this video. This map is the best in theme, level design and balancing of all maps I've ever played. This was the most consistent fun I've ever had in a Source Engine single-player game, if you exclude Half-Life 2 itself. Overall, this is easily in peak tier. A full-length mod of this quality would be the best mod ever made with no competition. Right now, it sits at about 20 minutes. But just know that this map is literally perfect. Shout out to Beef Bacon, the Source Engine wizard, likely the most talented person to ever touch the Source Engine. There's another mod of his later down the list. But first, let's talk about the first Combine mod ever. Combine Destiny. For a hard jump in quality, let us move on to Combine Destiny, which is, very likely, the very first Combine POV mod ever made, having released in 2005. And unfortunately, it has to be said that this is very noticeable. In this mod, you storm a large military facility set in a mountain in which rebels have set up base. And even with the grace that I have to give a 20-year-old mod, this mod unfortunately still sucks. While this isn't the creator's fault, the mod is broken now, which causes every text in the mod to be code gibberish, including mission briefings. It's to be added that you're not missing much. Reading the briefings in the game files is just regular, more enemies approaching and the like. I may also note that this mod is German, and thus all the mission text only exists in German. A German product of this quality, what a shame for a nation. If there's one positive thing I can say about this mod, it's that the level design had some moments where it's alright, especially given the mod released about a year after Half-Life 2 did. Another cool thing being that this mod has a custom soundtrack, which has been playing this entire segment. Apparently the mod also has alternate paths you can take, but I can't say I found them, because my biggest negative also happens to be the level design. The entire mod is one big underground maze that looks exactly the same the entire time. Even when it tries to mix up the environments by including small prison or canal sections, it all looks the same. The only interesting twist was a Ravenholm section later on, which is pretty good for 2005 standards and okay by those of today. The combat can be equal to spawning NPCs in a Garry's Mod RP map and then running through it. I bet that's more fun probably. The finale is simply you getting into a Combine dropship. I will not discredit this mod's creativity. It's the first Combine mod ever, and for that, it is to be respected. And with all due respect, I will put it in bad. I would put it lower if I could. There was a second part in the works, of which we only have a 144p trailer. Sadly, it never came to fruition, even though it looked pretty promising. The next mod we're taking a look at is a slightly more unknown one, that being Human Error Episode 1. This mod has you joining civil protection and is actually pretty well made. The mod released in 2010 and features multiple characters that you constantly interact with, including pretty good voice acting.
Start dreaming.
I already do. I dream. Do you want to hear my dream?
We don't even want to hear your breathing. Let's go.
It also features a story involving your dead wife, who has a custom model, albeit that she does look kinda cursed. And it features a bunch of custom NPCs in the form of Xenians, alien grunts, alien controllers, alien crafts, and custom weapons like smoke grenades, the LX gun, the stun stick, and manhex. You also get to drive an APC in one part, which is the first time this was ever done in a mod. The highlights of this mod are definitely the custom content and the story, plus the companions you have. The mod also happens to be set only shortly after Half-Life 1, which makes it a very interesting period of time in the Half-Life universe. The level design is fine overall, there are some nicely placed puzzles, but it distinctly has that early Source mod look. It's not polished to the degree that most modern Half-Life 2 mods are, but there are certainly worse ones, like Command Destiny. The level design of Human Error is definitely not distractingly bad. Far from it actually. It at least manages to innovate every now and again. Most of it is spent in various wings of a school and various parts of the city. The gameplay lasts for about 2 to 3 hours, which is pretty long all things considered. There are some negatives though. As cool as the custom weapons are, the LX gun borders on being useless, and the smoke grenades are purely decorative. The only thing they do is hinder your vision, as NPCs can still see through them perfectly. The ending is also a cliffhanger, and episode 2 never got made. If you want a more detailed summarization and review, I covered this mod in a full video on my channel, but fair warning, that is an old video of mine and it is thus pretty bad. This mod makes it into solid. All in all, I still think this mod is a fun experience, but it certainly is no Entropy Zero or anything. Speaking of which, Entropy Zero. Entropy Zero, even before Entropy Zero 2, was one of the most popular mods ever. At the time, it was simply the best the concept of playing a Combine has ever been executed. You got great voice acting, really solid level design that mostly still holds up to this day, and a story to go along with it. In this mod you play as Bad Cop on a mission to take back a citadel-like structure in City 10. This mod has always stood out simply for being so high effort on every front, and even more so that it stand out back then. This also includes the great soundtrack it has, which you're hearing right now. The snowy landscapes of City 10 were a unique environment to set this mod in, and the combat in it was fun. So were the puzzles. Mostly. The most memorable moment for me is a hideout you find, where someone documented their meetings with the G-Man, which I'll leave you to read for yourself once you get around to playing this mod. All this isn't to say that the mod didn't come with a few flaws. There were some puzzles that are notoriously bad in design, and a segment in which you have to guide a stalker through a dark underground area that most everyone dislikes. For myself, I must say that while the segment is definitely too hard, I actually kinda enjoy that fact in hindsight. Reminds you of how old PS2 or Xbox games always had like a super hard segment you struggled with. For me, that's the bridge level in Crash Bandicoot. In the final third of the game, you get infected by a flu and constantly have to inject yourself with a vaccine, which doesn't really add any depth to gameplay and is simply annoying. The final boss fight is also pretty unbalanced and feels more like a Death Run map than a Half-Life 2 level. These few flaws aside though, this is still a very high level Half-Life mod. While it doesn't manage to live up to the level of quality its successor Entropy Zero 2 has, it is definitely worth playing. And in case you're thinking about replaying it, it may be worth waiting a bit longer, since there is currently an update for Entropy Zero 1 in the works that will not only add VR support, which is pretty cool, but also update a bunch of maps, with the aim to apply the things they've learned from the development of Entropy Zero 2 to its predecessor, hopefully bringing it up to modern quality standards. If you're watching this a year or two in the future, it's likely released already. In its current state, I will put Entropy Zero at the top of solid. And let it be known that there is a giant gap between these two. To not beat around the bush, let us move immediately to the successor, Entropy Zero 2. If you somehow haven't heard of this mod before, it means you must be new. Entropy Zero 2 is fairly claimed by many to be the best mod ever made. It continues the story of Bad Cop, who has upgraded from a Metro Cop to an elite soldier. To be more exact, his mind has become a print for elite Combine soldiers. While the first part is set before Half-Life 2, this one takes place right afterwards, either during or before the events of Episode 1. Your goal is to hunt down the Mossman, who is rumored to be in a facility in the Arctic. I'm not sure where to even begin with Entropy Zero 2 to be honest. Let me start off by saying that the level design is great. There are so many diverse environments you fight through in this mod. From the beginning that takes you through a Nova Prospekt that has been overtaken by antlions even more than it was in Half-Life 2, to the Arctic facility filled with rebels, to the undergrounds of that same facility, through caves overtaken by Zen fauna and even more. Spanning about 40 maps in total, Entropy Zero 2 is a lot longer than most Half-Life 2 mods. While most other higher quality mods usually don't take more than 3 hours, Easy 2 takes at least 5 hours on a quick run. If you take your time, it can take double that or even longer. Story is also not an aspect that's missing. The mod constantly connects itself to the Half-Life story. Not even to mention the fact that you're hunting down Mossmen. There are so many references and cameos in this mod that had me straight soy-facing at the screen about every hour while playing. Just to name you one of many, Race X makes a full return in this mod, and the reveal of the pit drones is perhaps the greatest reveal of any Half-Life mod ever. But it's not just a cameo fest. You also face down a mysterious half-burnt elite combine who seems to be stalking you, and is also trying to hunt down Mossman, basically turning it into a race, during which you find out about weird time anomalies happening at the Arctic facility and try to discover a secret project the Combine have a lot of interest in. Also, you find a buddy for yourself, a broken aperture science turret. And the bromance is perfect.
So, I should probably tell you about the gigantic man-eating monster.
Oh, you think now would be a good time?
The only minor complaint some have about this mod is that Bad Cop is too humorous for their taste. But that's up to personal preference. He does kind of speak like a Marvel character, to be fair.
The sheriff is back in town.
The soundtrack is great, the reworked weapons are great, which includes a convenient kick by the way. There are multiple endings, the voice acting is awesome, the new characters introduced are awesome, the environments are awesome, and the moments you get to experience as a Half-Life fan are unlike any other. Best of all, for those that for some reason are too scared to move a singular folder into another to install a Half-Life mod, both Entropy Zero parts are available on Steam. If you're gonna play one mod on this list, and you somehow haven't played it yet, play Entropy Zero 2. Entropy Zero 2 definitely has to be put at the very top of the list. It's very fair for people to have this as their favorite mod. It remains to this day the most hype experience of playing a Half-Life 2 mod ever for me. If you want my more detailed thoughts, summary and analysis, I covered this mod and Entropy Zero 1 in a 1-hour video. Again, fair warning, this video is old, but my thoughts still hold up. I'll link it at the outro of this video, so you can check it out then. For a bit of a switch up, let's talk about a horror map, Shadow Apartment. This one can be found on the Entropy Zero 2 workshop. This mod starts with you hearing the impact of a headcrab canister. You place a metro cop that seems to have been wandering around an attic without weapons for some reason, before being hit by this headcrab canister. You then make your way down this apartment, which is where weird events happen. You get attacked by weird creatures, including burnt metro cops, who actually shoot at you. This isn't a traditional tension jump scare kind of horror, more like a horror action shooter. But for what it is, you get solid level design, good combat, and some scares that are bound to happen because these creatures are so quiet that they can easily sneak up on you. My only negatives are that, for one, the final map was too dark, making the puzzles pretty tedious, and the fact that there isn't really an ending. It kinda just fades to white. Perhaps there's a deep message here that's just flying over my head, but it felt a bit out of nowhere. This mod will last you around 20 minutes at most, 15 if you're good at solving puzzles. It's a fun experience. I'm gonna put it at the bottom of solid. If you dislike action horror, you can move this down to alright in your personal list, as you are definitely following along at home, I imagine. I'd say let's get back to our beloved beef bacon, shall we? Traitors. This next map was an entry for the mapping competition called Companion Piece 2, in which the rule was that your map has to include companions of some kind. In this one, you place a traitor to the Combine alongside a few more Metro Cops on a mission to escape City 17, and with it, the citadel that is at risk of destroying the entire city. This map will last you just about 10 minutes, but those 10 minutes are filled with beautiful atmospheric levels. Making a map set at night look good in Source isn't easy, but this map is perhaps the most beautiful example of exactly that. The combat is fun, the dynamic with your companions is fun, and the ending is pretty cool, which I'm not gonna take away from you experiencing yourself. There isn't anything more to be said. This is a great experience. Given it's really short though, I'm gonna put it at solid. We've had a lot of good maps, let's get back to some slop. Let's talk about Mission Terminate Calhoun. This is a mod for Entropy Zero 2 that is a sequel to Mission Home Invasion, which just straight up didn't load for me, so I decided to skip that one. In this map you place a clone of Bad Cop on the mission to kill Barney Calhoun, who also happens to be at an Arctic base. And at first, I didn't mind this mod. The level design was noticeably on a beginner level. Lots of wide open corridors without much interior and a bunch of enemy spam. But it was enjoyable. A bit. We then get a very cool scene that makes for the definite highlight of this mod from me, where you get to watch Barney talk with the radio guy of Entropy Zero 2. For this section, the creator sentence mixed and reused voice lines so that they can talk to each other in a way that makes sense, which was really cool. After this, the quality unfortunately drops down the gutter. As backup stormed the facility and the mod broke for me, to where I eventually had to resort to no clipping to the next level, I realized that this mod doesn't do anything new. This mod rehashes Entropy Zero 2 in a worse way. You storm the Arbeit facility on the hunt for a known character, you descend to the basement on the search after a battle against rebels, you solve a few puzzles and meet a turret here that talks to you that you can optionally take with you, you then storm a different wing of the facility, you chase Barney and more rebels through the lower levels of this facility alongside a few more Combine, and you fight in a large open bay area set at sunset. The differences only start at the fact that you battle Barney and actually defeat him. And you know what? I don't even hate the fact this mod did this. Imitation is a part of learning. It's like how most artists get started by trying to copy a painting. They study it. And I think making maps isn't all that different. Everyone is inspired by something, so for this fact alone I don't dislike this mod. Unfortunately, there are a lot more factors at play that sadly weigh this mod down. Aside from it being broken, the level design is passable, but nothing more than that. And unfortunately, for the biggest downside, the mod uses generative AI to create Barney voice lines in a later scene, plus a few bad cop ones. In this mod, it isn't only bad for moral reasons, it also sounds like absolute dog shit. Listen to these custom Barney voice lines.
Are you telling me that cop was you? I guess it's time to find out. If you really worth your elite title.
I will give this mod a slight pass, given that it released back when AI voices were seen less critical by the general audience. Doesn't make it any less shit though. Just get real voice actors, or reuse voice lines. In this case, the mod has shown how to make a compelling scene by reusing voice lines. Why generate shitty ones later? Either way, AI voices or not, this mod is pretty bad. But it's better than Combine Destiny, even if it straight up doesn't work. If the creator of this mod is watching this, keep at it. I can see you do have talent, you just need more practice. And stop with the AI completely, please. Let us get back to peak. Let's talk about Entropy Zero Uprising. This is the first episode of a mod series in which you play as Victor 60, a Metro Cop station in City 17, right as the Uprising happens. This is the 1 week time frame in which Gordon and Alex were teleporting from Nova Prospekt to Kleiner's lab, where they were presumed dead, causing the beginning of the rebellion. The intro is really cool. You get to be a cocky Metro Cop. And you get to see another perspective of the Nova Prospekt teleporter being destroyed, and how that was felt around the entire city. The level design of City 17 in Uprising remains my favorite City 17 of any mod ever. I just have yet to see a mod replicate the style so well and also improve upon it. It also manages to make large open areas look good, which is perhaps the hardest discipline of source mapping. You go on raids, you get unique interactions with citizens, and you explore completely new areas in the outskirts of City 17 and some of the most beautiful set pieces I've ever seen in Source. This rainy train yard is one of my favorite all-time Source levels. Part of the great atmospheres of this mod comes from the custom soundtrack, which is absolute peak. You've been hearing a song of the soundtrack this entire segment. Another great thing about this mod is the companions you meet. There is Bloody Cop and Beck, both of whom are greatly written characters. There are references to the happenings of Half-Life 2, you get new enemies, a stealth segment, boss fights, and once more, a beautiful City 17 set at night. This mod also features a story in which you explore your past. Similar to Human Error, it's about your dead wife. And just like in Entropy Zero 2, there are multiple endings. The endings of this mod being vastly different from one another. This is one of the only Half-Life mods to feature plot twists in its story. Good ones at that. Uprising gets just as clear of an S tier ranking as Entropy Zero 2. There are so many memorable moments in this mod, I give my highest recommendations to play this. And if you missed it, Uprising got a new ending and some other updates only about a year ago. So it's the perfect time to replay it. Some people even prefer Uprising over Entropy Zero 2. And honestly, I can't blame them. I'd even say that the level design is more consistent than Entropy Zero 2 overall. But we are talking about comparing peak with peak here. And as is the great thing with free mods, you can just play all of them, no need to decide. If you want my more detailed thoughts, a summary and a more clear analysis that also explores the multiple endings, I made a longer video about Uprising a few years ago as well. I will link it at the end of this video if you want to check it out. This was the final time I'm saying this, don't worry. Let's get back to a classic mod, Combine Combat. This mod released in 2009, and just like Combine Destiny, was also made by a German. Seeing a G-Man intro in German was quite an experience, I tell you what.
Du sollst also Gordon Freeman töten. Ja, du könntest der Richtige sein.
He tells us that our goal is to hunt down the Freeman.
Black Mesa.
Quite obnoxiously, this mod starts with a 5-minute intro where you simply are locked in a pod, likely one of those half-molded Combine units. We pick up a blue HEV suit that gives us a custom HUD, and then begin our adventure on the hunt for Freeman. This involves you driving an airboat, a small Ravenholm segment, driving a custom car along the coast in a thunderstorm that was actually pretty cool. You also get a custom sniper that is unfortunately pretty bad. You then reach a town at a shore, do a short holdout segment, and then the mod ends with the G-Man shelving you. This mod lasts for about 40 minutes, but in content, feels way shorter. That being said, this is worlds better than Combine Destiny. You get varied environments, the combat is pretty decent, the vehicle segments were fine and involved puzzles that were simple but fun, and we did get a custom weapon, even if it was admittedly pretty shit. The highlight of this mod is definitely the intro. Well, not the intro 5-minute cutscene, but getting to see how the Combine operate for a few minutes. It's pretty rare you get to see this in mods. Similar to mission Terminate Calhoun, this mod replicates Half-Life 2. Airboat segment followed by Ravenholm followed by driving along the coast. For a mod that released in 2009, this is quite impressive. This mod just about makes it into alright. It's time for another very underrated mod, which is Protector Redux. This Entropy Zero 2 mod started out as a Garry's Mod co-op map that got ported to EZ2. I went into this mod with low expectations, but was honestly completely blown out of the park. This mod is a large amount of fun. It will last you somewhere between 30 minutes to an hour at most, but in this time you get lovable companions, strong environmental storytelling featuring a proper intro and a surprising ending, and great level design and combat. The puzzles and looks are great as well. There isn't too much to say about this one. I highly recommend playing this simply to see the ending, which connects it to another popular mod through a direct reference that once more had me soy-facing at my screen. A great, flawless entry that I would have honestly loved to see go on even longer. Bottom of peak. For our shortest entry today, we've got Point Insertion. This is a 5-minute long map in which you raid the apartment right next to the one Freeman enters in Half-Life 2, and likely only shortly after he passed by here. Your goal is to collect 3 stolen weapons. Unfortunately, this map does a very bad job at guiding the player, but given it's so short, it's still a fun experience. And I always enjoy getting to enter buildings not previously enterable. It expands the world in a nice way. Nothing too impressive going on here though. Again, it's 5 minutes long. This one is alright. This next entry is another Entropy 02 mod, Prospekt Zero. In this one, you wander around Nova Prospekt taking out antlions. There's some environmental storytelling going on. We find out that this is set at the same time as Entropy 02 is, so after Half-Life 2 but before Episode 1. And we even get to talk to an advisor at one point who has new voice lines recorded by Trivi, who also voiced the advisor in Entropy 02.
Abandon Nova Prospekt. Locate and use the teleporter to reroute your efforts to the Citadel.
To enjoy this mod, you must really love the Nova Prospekt buy, because that is all you get. Though I may add that even as someone who personally is slower on the Half-Life 2 Nova Prospekt chapter than most, I quite enjoyed this. For a new twist, you actually get a few horror elements in this mod, which were fun, but only last for a short while. You get a boss fight, horror elements, defense sections. It's all you can ask for from a Nova Prospekt experience. The only gripe I have about it is that the ending doesn't make sense, like, at all. This really isn't a spoiler, don't worry. As told by the advisor, you are to leave Nova Prospekt and get to the Citadel. In the end, you arrive at the Combine teleporter that got destroyed when Gordon and Alex used it, which at this point in the timeline happened at least 1 week ago. But for some reason it's still functioning? You then teleport away and end the mod. I just don't really see the reason why this happened. It's cool to see this area again, I guess. But it could have just been the player getting on a train at the depot that would have had the same effect and would make more sense if you try to consider this mod as canon. This really devalues the feat Gordon and Alex achieved by destroying it. But still, this mod is an approximately 40-minute long, high-quality, enjoyable adventure through Nova Prospekt. Solid. If you put this higher personally, I wouldn't be mad at all. Time for another super short one. Excalibur 1.6. Excalibur 1.6 is a 10-minute long mod in which you storm a rebel base in which a traitorous metro cop is hiding. Unfortunately, once more, this mod went heavy on using AI voices. And this mod released in mid-2024, so this really is pushing it in terms of acceptability even by the general community. They should have known better. I wish they would replace these voices, especially given that a Combine filter can help mask unprofessional voice acting. So it has a very low likelihood of sounding bad even if a novice voices the character. Outside of that, this mod is pretty well made. The level design is good, the combat is fun, it has its own soundtrack, and the element of searching for a traitorous metro cop and actually capturing him in the end is fun. Though it would have been a lot more fun if the voice lines didn't sound like an alien's first attempt at speaking.
Gordon Freeman? I don't know anything. All that's known is already in your database, isn't it? He raided the Nova Prospekt 2 days ago, and that's all everybody knows since then.
For all the named reasons, I put this one at the top of alright. I wanna put it higher, but replacing humans with AI, especially in art, is just so icky. If the developers ever plan to update the voices and you want the metro cop to have a German accent, hit me up. Gordon Freeman? I don't know anything. All that's known is already in your database, isn't it? You raided Nova Prospekt 2 days ago, and that's all we know. Or just ask the dozens of actually talented voice actors in the community, that also works. The Masked Prisoner. The final released entry for this list is a bonus entry, as you don't really play as a Combine. In The Masked Prisoner, you experience the story of a person that attempts to break out alongside all other citizens trapped inside the prison, which you do by building up a rebellion alongside Odessa. For a lot of this mod, you dress up as a metro cop, which makes you half a Combine for this mod. I guess you could say you're living a Half-Life. This mod is a good amount of fun with some alright level design. The moment where it really becomes great is the ending. This will be a slight spoiler, so feel free to skip to the next chapter of the video. Alright, here we go. The finale reveals that you are playing as Barney as Alex comes to save you. This is the backstory of Barney and how he got his metro cop armor. You guys know I love when mods are used to tell untold stories, and this mod does that perfectly, adding more backstory to our beloved Barney. Some of the level design and gameplay feels outdated though, so it's gonna be put in alright, but for what it is, it's fun. With the list finished, Let us now move to upcoming projects, because there are some really interesting ones. Let me know what your tier list would look like though. As should go without saying, the following projects are still a work in progress. Everything is subject to change. The first project we're gonna take a look at is the continuation to Entropy Zero 2, known as Entropy Zero 2 Axon Pariah. It's episodic content for Entropy Zero 2. The number 3 curse is so real. If you have somehow not played Entropy Zero 2 yet, this will include spoilers, so skip to the next chapter if you wanna stay unspoiled. Entropy Zero Axon Pariah will expand upon the canon ending, which is the Wilson ending. We know only a little bit about this mod. Mainly that it will be about Bad Cop and Wilson escaping the vault-like structure he was left off at in the Wilson ending, called Athenaeum, I think? Said to be built to study the Elusive One, which refers to the G-Man. The media surrounding this mod is quite mysterious. This image is said to showcase remnants of a resonance cascade, or this one that shows junk suspended in a particle field, which is likely set within the Athenaeum. The ModDB page mentions that this mod will be 6 chapters long, in which we face off against new threats like Husks, Mortar Synths, Analysts, Guardians, and the dreaded Archivist, whatever that may be. We are also set to get new weapons like a Flechette shotgun, Pulse SMG, and Stasis grenades. The mod looks super promising. As of right now, there's no release date or even an approximate one, leading me to believe that it's likely gonna take at least a year, if not long, until we can play this mod. The next project is another Entropy Zero episode, called Progenitors. This project was announced at the same time as Axon Pariah, and is made by the same team that made Entropy Zero 2 as well. This one is a prequel set closely after Half-Life 1, so not long after the 7-hour war. Here you play as a Combine Assassin, 2088. You are tasked with tracking down a rogue Combine unit called the Progenitor, who served as a template for the Combine's first soldiers. It's set to explore the origins of the Combine's human-based army, as well as the origins of Bad Cop's privilege, which is referring to the fact that he gets to keep his faculties, his free will essentially. This mod will allow you to jump around just like the assassins of Half-Life 1, and you'll be able to cloak, which plays into the complex stealth mechanics of this mod, including alertness levels. The gameplay demos look super fun, and this one is apparently closer to being finished than Axon Pariah, but it will likely take quite a few months, if not years still. There are actually 2 more Entropy Zero episodes planned, but we know nothing about them other than that they're planned. For now, these 2 are the only ones. Staying with Entropy Zero for one more upcoming entry though, Entropy Zero Uprising, episode 2, is also in the works, with a likely release year being 2027. Don't take this as fact though. This mod continues the story of Victor 60, choosing any ending where a certain character wasn't killed. If you played it, you know what I mean. The most exciting thing about this mod, if you ask me, is the fact that you get to visit the quarantine zone from Half-Life Alyx. It will be super exciting to see it remade in Source 1. And to the team behind the mod, I think I know just the guy who could help you with pulling that off. The few videos and images we have look awesome. The level design keeps on looking peak just the way it was in the first episode. We know that a new character is gonna be introduced, called Jeffrey. Thank God it's spelled differently. There's new soundtracks released for episode 2 as well that sound just as great as those of the first episode. You're listening to one of the songs right now. There's also a new weapon, the ARM-1, which looks really cool, and it's gonna be wielded by the main antagonist, the chief of the faction introduced at the end of episode 1. I just can't spoil that twist for those who haven't played it. Seriously, if you haven't played Uprising episode 1 yet, go play it right now. From the quarantine zone to Germany-inspired cityscapes to new weapons to continuing this great story, I seriously can't wait for this mod to release. For the final mod of this video, let's take a look at Inhuman. As you can probably guess, you play as a Combine soldier. This one has the interesting twist of being set far in the future. The official trailer starts out with South America, 7 years after the Borealis incident. The description on Steam stating, the remaining rebel fighters struggle to find a hero to replace Gordon Freeman. It seems that this mod assumes that Gordon was unsuccessful in fully defeating the Combine, which doesn't sound too unreasonable. The protagonist seems to be a Metro Cop escaping the Combine tyranny. The mod will feature Half-Life Alyx Combine units ported to the Source engine. There is a ton of development test videos on the creator's channel, showcasing all the new content being worked on, including a few seemingly finished levels. This mod was originally set to release in the summer of 2023, but has been postponed since, and still has yet to release. There was a new update video only 2 months ago, so there's no reason to believe that it was cancelled. Definitely a very exciting project. Once any of these mods released, I'm gonna be here streaming and reviewing them. Subscribe to not miss that. Thank you. Let me know what you think about the upcoming mods, and how you rate all the mods in the tier list. Also, there's a good chance there are more Combine mods out there that I just don't know about. So if you know any more, please leave a comment and maybe I'll do a part 2 in the future. Consider joining the Discord and becoming a member as well. There's an exclusive video there of me playing Shadow Apartment, the horror map. And otherwise, thank you for watching.
If you're alive. Oh!